Hello everyone. First, thank you to Sarah for inviting me to join you all. This photo is me in front of the Paralympic agitos in Tokyo. The agitos is the symbol for the Paralympic Games and stand for courage, determination, inspiration and equality. Being here today has brought back loads of memories. I was transferred to St. Thomas's on the day I was born, and growing up I had repeat visits here, to St. George's Hospital and to Great Ormond Street, and along the way I met many wonderful people who have helped me to be where I am today. Growing up, I learned 3 things I want to share with you. First is the importance of having dreams for your future. Second is about working hard. And third is about resilience. Resilience means even when things don't work the first time, picking yourself up and having another go. I was only 4 years old when I began dreaming my first dream, and it is something that I am still working on today. Sometimes it can take years to make your dreams come true. My dream was to help children who are unable to speak to be heard and understood. Can you imagine speaking even to someone who knows you and them not understanding what you are saying? That is me. Every day people don't get what I am saying. This dream started when I got my first communication device ready to start school. That device did the same job my iPad and my iGaze system are doing today. I type in the words I want to say and press a button, so it speaks my words. All those years ago it was a huge device. It was nearly bigger than me. But the good thing was that having a speech device suddenly meant I could communicate with anyone. Learning to use my communication aid didn't happen overnight. It was like learning a new language alongside everything else you are doing in the classroom. It was really hard work, and I needed to practice every day. When I was at school, I was never top of my class. When it came to tests, I was always at the bottom. And there were lots of reasons for that. We are all different, and not everyone can be top in everything. My hands don't work well. This means it takes me longer to do things. I had a full-time teaching assistant in school who would write down or type what I told her. I also have a hearing impairment, so I have been a lip reader since I was a baby. That means I watch people's faces and mouths to understand what they are saying. It wasn't until I was 10 that hearing aids became available that would help me hear what the teachers were saying. But that didn't stop me from working hard and trying always to do my best. When I was 12, my school told my mum I would be unlikely to get any qualifications, and I could not do sport. Clearly, they didn't know me, and the power of being determined. Rather than giving up, I moved schools, continued to dream big and proved them wrong. Because I knew the sort of job I wanted, I discovered I would need to go to university so I could be qualified to help others. When I realized this, I knew I had to keep working hard. I would need to improve my reading and writing, because even at 15 it wasn't good enough to get into university. But I persevered. I was determined to get there. And one thing that is important to remember is we are all always learning. Learning doesn't stop in school. We can continue to learn throughout our lives. The short story about my learning is that by being stubborn, not listening to those people who said I would never do it, by not taking no for an answer, I left university with a first. That is the top grade you can get in a degree. And my degree was in social policy, something that meant I was writing essays that were thousands of words long. I've since gone back to university, and I am now studying for a master's in social policy. Social policy is about the rules and guidance that surrounds us all in everyday life. Things like you learn at school. My focus is on empowering children and young people to fulfill their communication potential, so in my spare time I do charity work, talk whenever I can about the importance of communication for all, and deliver training. Now let's talk about sport. My parents have always encouraged my dreams. At the age of 6, I watched the 2000 Sydney Paralympic Games and saw disabled people, like me, competing in sport. From that moment onwards, I wanted to be a Paralympian. At 6, I don't think I realized just how ambitious it was that I wanted to represent Great Britain, but that didn't stop me from dreaming. I was inspired particularly after seeing someone called Caroline Innes. She was running and at those games got 2 medals. Then I saw her interviewed on the TV. What I loved about her was that she had cerebral palsy. She was wobbly on her feet, and she had a speech impairment, just like me. In those days I didn't think I would ever run, but I knew then there was a sport out there for me somewhere. I just needed to find it. Caroline became my hero. I wrote to her after seeing her on television to tell her she inspired me, that I wanted to be like her. She wrote back and we met up soon after. This is me when I first met Caroline. You can see how touchy and well-loved this photograph is. She has been an important role model in my life, and we are still friends today, which is amazing. It took me 4 more years to find Butcher. and with this came my sporting passion. When I was 10 years old, no one had heard of bocce. I first played in the Surrey Youth Games and wanted to carry on because I had loved it so much. This was me with a ramp. My hands were so small I couldn't even pick up a ball. Some of you might have heard of bocce. It is an indoor seated ball game, played using leather-type balls. The court is usually the size of a badminton court, but you can play it anywhere, as some of you will find out later when we visit the school and the dialysis ward. As an example, during COVID I even trained in my kitchen, sat in my hallway. Bocce players are classified for competitions. What this means is each individual is assessed to make sure they play against others with a similar level of impairment. Some players throw the ball, and others, like me, use a ramp. You can see in these pictures I am using the ramp to get my ball onto the court, and I have an on-court assistant. Christy is here with me today. The assistant works completely under the athlete's direction and is not allowed to communicate in any way during the game. Here Christy has her game face on. Back to age 10 I was bitten with the bocce bug and wanted to play again and again. I kept on playing. I started competing and eventually I was selected for England and then Great Britain. It took me 17 years, but I was honored to represent our nation at the Tokyo 2020 Paralympics. It wasn't always easy along the way. I had some injuries and setbacks. But being at the Paralympics was my dream, so I kept picking myself up again and again and trying harder. I was always willing to learn new things. Before Tokyo, it became my full-time job. There was a lot of time training, going to the gym, working with sports professionals and the coaches, as well as the lovely Christy. But it was all worth the hard work. The greatest moment of my life was most definitely going out onto the field of play in Tokyo, competing for Great Britain. My sporting dream had come true. It had taken 21 years, but what an experience. I continued to play for about a year after Tokyo, but decided the time was right to retire. At that point I was ranked 13th in the world in the individual game, and my classification as a pair GB was 7th in the world. Following the Bocce World Cup in Brazil a couple of weeks ago, I am delighted that GB have both throwers and ramp players qualified for the Paris Paralympics at the end of August. My third dream was to run. This was me at sports day in year 3, running with my dad so I could take part with the class. looking at me sat in my wheelchair. Most people would be surprised if I said I could run. But never say never to anything. These days I run several times a week. Seven years ago, I found something called frame running. Literally, I run with a frame. It is like a trike, with a seat, but without the pedals. When I sat on it, I knew it was something I could do. First, I started running up and down the road outside my home, then I joined an athletics club. I was loving it so much that then I started competing, first locally, then in national events. I was running nearly every day, and unbelievably I was invited to represent England internationally. I got to go to Denmark in 2017 and Spain 2018. I was suddenly ranked in the top 10 in the world in my classification. By early 2019 I was asked to train with the GB Athletics Talent Squad. This was both unexpected and very exciting. In fact, I chose to turn down this opportunity as my dream was still to go to the Paralympics as a bocce athlete. Frame running changed my life. It has made me fitter and healthier. I am gaining regular cardio exercise, building muscles, and it enhanced my studies. Running improved my sleep and developed my self-esteem. I feel good when I get out and get fresh air. Not only for my physical health, but also for my mental well-being. It is something I recommend everyone tries. When I run on the track or the beach, I am truly independent. It is an amazing sense of freedom. I always dreamed of running, and now I can fly. My message to all of you today is to have dreams, work hard to make them happen, and if at first you don't succeed, try again. Don't give up. I know not everyone wants to be a Paralympian. The important thing is to be as active as you can. Whatever you dream of in life, I want you all to fulfill your own potential. To find something you like doing, something that makes you happy, then work hard at it. There is nothing more rewarding than being successful at something you like doing. I believe in all of you. If you can dream it, then you can do it. Thank you. And I think we have some questions.
Asking, can you speak in different languages with your talking machine?
Technically, yes, but I have never tried. Technically, yes, but that I have never tried.
How did you start playing blockchain?
Nice question. When I was 10, I was invited to play for my local borough in the Surrey Youth Games. We got a 30-minute practice the day before to learn the basics and off we went. I loved bocce from the first time I played and wanted to carry on.
Next question is, who's the most famous person you have ever met?
I guess I am lucky. I've met quite a few. When I was 12, I met Jacqueline Wilson, who wrote the Tracy Beaker books. She was awesome. Her character Tracy Beaker really inspired me. She had been encouraged by her social worker to write her story about being in care. Because of Tracy at 10, I wrote my own life story to tell people what it was like to use AAC.
Question here, is your wheelchair a machine that helps you with your communication?
Tricky question. I've never really thought about it, but I suppose it does. As if I can't move around, I can't share my thoughts with people. Tricky question. I've never really thought about it, but I suppose it does. As if I can't move around, I can't share my thoughts with people.
I have a question. Someone asked, how do you respond when people ask about your disability?
Good question. I think it depends on who is asking. If it is a child, then they are naturally curious. So I try to satisfy their curiosity without going into detail. If the question is why do I use a power chair, I reply because my legs are not great for walking. If they ask about why I use a communication device, I simply say it is because my voice is not clear. If the question is from a new health professional, then my mum and I created a fact sheet of the information they needed to know, which we gave to them when I was growing up. People do sometimes ask questions that can be quite intrusive. When my condition changed when I was 16, lots of people at school asked questions. My mum and I planned a short answer I was happy to give, and I stuck to that. The important thing is that you only need to give information to others if you want to, so stick to the basics of what you feel comfortable with saying.
I've got a question from another student. Other than vodka, what is your favourite sport?
Good question. I am not sure I can name one. I love watching tennis and snooker. There are not so many sports I can do myself. I tried power chair football but preferred boccia. I also represented England at frame running and still enjoy that, now doing it several times a week. I also love skiing.
Yes. And no. Yes, the no.
Sadly, no. I prefer live sport, and I don't get a lot of time for watching television.
A question from a child. Have you always used AAC? And if you didn't, how did you communicate before?
Thanks for asking. I was assessed for my first communication aid when I was 3, and it arrived for when I started school when I was 4. I do have some natural speech, but it is very difficult to understand. My family understands some of what I say, but we are all multimodal communicators. We all use body language, gesture, signs, facial expression, and our eyes to communicate all the time. Try saying over there, and automatically you will look in that direction, point, and maybe nod your head.